let's talk about sort of what happened there.
I've got 4 dogs. Sorry, hold on.
That's fine. They might make the video. They might make the cut. Hi everyone, welcome back to SGTV. So today it is World Youth Skills Day, and joining us on the show we've got 4 apprentices. So it's a lot of faces here on the SGTV screen, but it's good to have you all with us. So let's say hello to Louis Foskett in my top left-hand corner. We've got Louis there. We've got hiya mate. We've got Caitlin.
Hello,
Caitlin. I'm confused to your backdrop there.
it's my back garden.
Okay. We've got Michael sat in his room by the looks of it. Hi, Michael.
Hi then.
Yeah, I like the paint theme you've got going on.
Grey.
And we've got Tianna down at the bottom there. Hiya, Tianna.
Hiya.
So as I said in the intro to this, it's World Youth Skills Day. This is when this video is going out. So what better way than to have some young apprentices on the show? So we want to talk about sort of the insights into what you're doing at college, what you're doing on site, your motivations on getting apprenticeships and working and your future goals. So I think if we can start off, we'll just go round the table. I want to ask you all why you chose to get an electrical apprenticeship. So let's start with you, Tianna.
Well, when I left school, I went to sixth form and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I've always liked construction. So I'll try multi-trade, and obviously you had to pick towards the end. So I picked electrics, and ever since I've never looked back.
Really? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm glad it's like the best decision I ever made, instead of going uni anyway.
How far into your apprenticeship are you then?
I've only got like 2 months left.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's nearly time for, well, you're probably working in it anyway, but it's nearly time for the real world to start hitting home.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. How about you, Michael? What made you want to get an electrical apprenticeship?
Well, originally I wanted to join the Royal Engineers in the Army.
Okay.
I didn't pass my English to be a spark in there. So the only other option was to go to college and do electrics.
Yeah.
So I chose that option instead. And yeah, it's been good, yeah.
And how far into your apprenticeship are you?
In my apprenticeship, I'm going to my 4th year now.
Yeah.
So I've been with 2 employees since I started, because I had trouble with the first one after 2 years in.
Yeah.
So recently changed, but it's good in play now.
You're happy where you're at now then?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. How about you, Caitlin?
Well, it's different up in Scotland. There's not actually many girls actually that do this. So the reason I started it was because I was sick of people telling me that I couldn't do it because I was a girl. So I just went and done it just to prove them wrong, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm getting into my 3rd year just directly. And this is my 2nd employer as well, because I had trouble with my 1st employer as well.
So, I mean, you've done it to sort of prove people wrong, but you enjoying it? You've not sort of done that and thought, oh, actually,
No, like I'd always wanted to do it, but there's like, I can count in one hand up in Scotland how many girls actually that does it.
Really?
Yeah, there's like none whatsoever.
Why do you think that is, though? I mean, when I first started interviewing people on this channel, we were getting some female electricians on the show, and one of the questions I was asking them was, have you ever sort of come across any prejudice being a female in the industry? And most of them, obviously they're based down here in England, most of them were saying no, it's almost the opposite.
I found it so hard. I found it so hard to actually get a job. I had went around so many employers, and so many of them told me no because they didn't want trouble on sites because I was a girl.
Yeah.
They thought bringing me on would make the guys work or something like that.
That's a shame to hear, though.
Because there was one job that the guy was like, oh, I really want you to join, you sound good. And I was like working away and stuff. And then by the end of the conversation, he's like, how would your dad feel if you had to go work away with a bunch of guys? And I was like, he's fine. I was like, it's my career, he's happy with me. And he's like, well, I wouldn't like my daughter doing it, so I can't give you the job. And I was like,
right.
All right.
So it sounds like you've got a lot to prove up there then, and some people you need whipping into shape to teach them a thing or two about the modern times. Yeah.
I need told.
Before I come on to you, Lewis, actually, I just want to come back onto you, Tianna. Have you ever experienced that kind of thing?
Not really, no. Apart from one company saying, "Oh, it's going to be difficult to get like toilets for you to go toilet, and it's going to be difficult because you're female, so you won't understand the lads kind of banter." And it's like, you haven't given me a opportunity to even try and see if I liked it or if I can get on with it. And they just said to me after, it's not because like towards the end of the interview, there's like, to be honest, we're not going to give it yet. It's not because you're a girl, but I didn't think it was because of that. And there's like, then later on, a couple of years later, I was like, "Oh, you can have your back." And I was like, "I don't think I want to because I don't think they'll appreciate me and what I can do."
Yeah.
To be honest, not really though, not as much because down here we got quite a handful of female electricians.
Yeah, I'm going off topic here, but I mean, it's something I was speaking to some people at work today about. Is I think a lot of people when they're getting into the industry, I don't know if all of you here would probably agree. It's usually you're inspired by someone, whether it's your dad's an electrician, your uncle, your granddad, your friend. And I think traditionally that's how a lot of people would get into it, especially from my generation and previous generations. But I think now with things like Instagram and YouTube, you see people out there earning money, having fun, doing what they're doing. And you've got female sparks on YouTube, you've got like Karen Boom and Amy and a lot of them. And I'm wondering if that's an inspiration to you, if that sort of helps you drive you get into it more.
I've been on a few podcasts with like Amy the Sparky and like Kim the Sparky and stuff. They've messaged me to like bring me on.
Yeah.
But it's like there was a Facebook page that my face get plastered all over basically from this guy, and that also like the girls on Instagram didn't like it, so they brought me on just kind of like to like talk about it.
Yeah. Lewis, I've left you out. I've left you up there all alone. Let's get you involved. So you're there at the train station by the looks of it. So I can see a pub behind you as well. So there's we know what you've been doing there anyway. So what made you get into an electrical apprenticeship?
I actually didn't want to. It was my old man. So going back to what you were saying just a minute ago about like your dad or your granddad was a spark. My dad's a spark. So he kind of forced me into it. If that's the right word to use.
Forced you into it.
Yeah.
You're not living in my house unless you get yourself an apprenticeship.
Pretty much. I was labouring after school. I did a bit of labouring over the summer. And just wanted to be a builder really, like enjoyed it. And he was like, you need to get something. Do you know what I mean? Like you need to get qualifications. So yeah, he just put me into an apprenticeship. I didn't even want to do it for the first 2 years. Hated it.
Are you enjoying it now though?
Some parts.
Do you see yourself pursuing it more though once you finish your apprenticeship?
Oh yeah, once I finished college, it got so much better because college was just a bit. Well, my college anyway, it was very. I don't know. You didn't really learn much in college. Like you just had loads of young kids in a class just winding teachers up. Like we had more teachers than students at one point. Like we were just rolling through teachers. They were just coming, going.
Yeah.
So I just didn't like it, to be honest with you. College, I just didn't switch on to it at all. I wish I did.
I've heard this a lot, but about people in colleges all over the country saying that the tutors are just a revolving door, and it's affecting their learning and their progression. Have you all found that to be an issue, or were you quite happy with your level that you were being taught at?
I've had about 4 tutors.
Really?
And we're getting on to our 3rd assessor now. So we had one who didn't come out and visit us, and I think I've had, since the 3 years I've been doing it, we've had 2 on-site assessments, and there should be 1 every 8 weeks.
Wow.
So
what do you think? What do you think that is, though? I mean, are you like just bad students that are driving your tutors insane, or?
Surprisingly, there's still 20 of us. There's still,
Really?
I think they started about 22, and there's still 20 of us in our yeah.
I think it's funded. It must be funded, surely.
I really don't know. I mean, I've had tutors. We have Neil McManus from Leicester College on the show now and again, and he's been at that college for quite a number of years. And from what I've heard of him, he enjoys his job. He sticks with it, and there are committed tutors. But all over the country, I'm hearing the same sort of thing for the opposite end of the scale as well. How about you, Caitlin, up in Scotland? The reason I ask is I've heard that funding and equipment and things like that in Scotland can often be better funded than it is in England.
College has actually been fine. You get so in the first year you get the same you get the same lectures. So for my first year, I had 3 lectures, one for principals, one for tech studies, and then one for obviously like in the workshop. And then when I moved to second year, you change it, like you get 3 different lectures. I've had one site visit. I've not been at college for ages because obviously COVID and stuff because it's shut. But our college is fine. I don't know if it's because I don't know, like the lecturers seem to like me better than the boys. No offence to the boys in the call, but they I don't know if it's just because they want more girls to obviously join up in Scotland, so they're I get a lot more opportunities than obviously what the boys do.
Do you think that's down to also character as well? Do you think, I mean, again, I keep mentioning about people I've spoken to on the show, but I hear people saying they'll employ someone over attitude than ability any day of the week. And I suppose for a lecturer teaching a classroom full of learners like yourselves, that they're gonna probably find a bit more enthusiasm in the pupil that's reciprocating that.
Well, when the lectures come in, I always get made like an example of. I'm like kind of like one of the oldest in my year, and I get took around all the classes because I think I won the Apprentice of the Year in my college. So I always get made like an example of because they're like, oh, she can go home and not study tonight because she applies to a class where all use idiots that they call them don't just mess about. So I don't know if it's just because they want to try and get more girls in that they're kind of putting more time into me.
I noticed a giggle from you, Tianna. Did you have something similar in your classroom then?
It's funny because with my teacher, I still speak to him, even though I've left college about 2 years ago. I still am in contact with my tutors, but that's because I think it was because of my enthusiasm. So in that sense, they pushed me a bit more because I was more interested in the lectures. And don't get me wrong, I didn't pay full attention, but for the exams and that I did like a little bit longer and whatever to get my head around it all. So in that sense, I can see what she means, like, Caitlin means, because that was like me. Like they pushed me, they tried a bit hard with me. I don't know if it was because I'm female, but they also said as well it's based off enthusiasm. And even though my college didn't have a lot of funding, they still kind of tried with me and tried to push me through an apprenticeship route instead of because I was in adults class because I started at 19, so with the older lot. So in that sense, they pushed me even though I was probably youngest in the class. They carried on like, what's the word? They tried to give me opportunities more than the older lot because they seen a future and they knew I was enthusiastic. So in that sense, I'm like, I don't know if it depends on the teacher because I had 3 different ones and all 3 of them pushed me.
Yeah, I suppose there's so many variants to it all. The student, the tutor, the funding, the area possibly, I don't know, But I suppose all you can do is try your best. And I know from speaking to tutors and employers alike, your attitude of your willingness to work and even knock doors and ask for apprenticeships and that kind of thing, that speaks volumes. So I want to talk about sort of your goals though. Some people, like Lewis has mentioned, you've sort of been pushed into an apprenticeship. Some will choose to with a goal set in mind, and I'm guessing maybe you've all got different aspirations of where you want your career to go to. So let's start with you, Michael. Where do you sort of see, without it being a typical interview question, where do you see your career going?
Ideally, I want to go on working for the distribution network operators. I want to go more DNO route. So I feel like I would prefer cable jointing or become a fitter in a substation or something rather than smashing someone's house to bits.
So sort of a bit more industrial, commercial, that kind of level?
Oh yeah, more like power and distribution rather than the actual end consumer.
What draws you to that?
I just don't know. It's always been, I had the opportunity before I even started and I regret it most days.
Yeah.
So I had a chance to work for my local DNO, which was Northern Power Grid, and I turned it down thinking I'd rather be a Sparky. And now I look at it, I think I'd rather went the other way.
Yeah. But I mean, it's easy for me to say because I'm not that company. But I think when you're honest with companies as well, because they've all been there. most Sparkies would have at some point been an apprentice or an adult learner, or however they've got into it. Thought they're going to go in one direction and then realize they've got a knack for something else, whether it's fire, industrial, whatever it might be. And you know that they've been there. So if you're saying, look, at the time I wasn't interested, maybe give me another shot. It's always worth asking the question, at least, I suppose.
I was talking to one of the local lads who work for him, and he said best route to go is if you're already an electrician or something. He says go become an engineer there instead to do like a craft apprenticeship, and then they said they'll pay your degree in that and get your HNC and HND.
Yeah,
something good to have.
Yeah, and it's one of the things we've covered in these episodes. There's advantages to being self-employed. There's advantages to being employed by companies. And anyone watching this episode, you know, just check out the page and check out the videos. There's plenty of videos there for you to sort of gauge what might be best for you. But let's go over to you, Lewis. So what's your sort of your goals that you want to get out of this? Where do you see yourself going?
Well, today I resat my AM2. So I failed it the first time two months ago or something. So just redone that. So hopefully once I get my gold card, I've always been interested in like the underground because I'm from London. It's always been, it's like how they get that down there. Do you know what I mean? So London Underground or offshore, like oil rigs and that. But even a work abroad, like I've done some work in France and Portugal as an apprentice, luckily. And that was just, good compared to working in London.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's nice. So just something different.
Yeah.
When I'm done.
We recently had a guy called Neil Bridgman on the show who he does work. He's a rail electrician, and you know some of the things he was telling me, getting to go into some of the old abandoned railway stations and things like that, and working on that. It does sound quite interesting.
Oh yeah, and have you listened to the E5 group?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like stories on that. It's just there's so much work out there. Like just one path has opened so many doors.
Yeah.
So,
one thing.
Do a few of them.
Exactly. One thing we're going to be doing on this show, which we've been sort of recording in the background, we've been doing a mini series called Job Routes for Electricians. So we've had guests on the show from who do domestic installs, commercial, industrial, rail, agricultural, several more, you know, just to open people's eyes up as to say, right, once you get your qualification, if you want to go and do domestic, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also all these different avenues you can go down. Some of them are talking about their experiences where it took them all over the world, Beijing Olympics, London Olympics, working in Australia. And I get quite jealous talking to some of them, you know. So, anyway, yeah. How about you, Tianna? What's your sort of aspirations?
Truthfully, I want to be a electric car charging point unit Sparky. I'm fascinated with cars, and I feel like it's the way forward.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have my own business in electric car charging point unit. It's like I want to just pay for the course and go through what's done my aim to, because I'm just fascinated with it. I just think it's amazing. Yeah.
Like you say, there's definitely a future in it with how things are going and laws being passed for electric cars by certain dates. I can't remember what the dates are. And I know, having spoken to several Sparkies that have sort of dipped in and out of it, they've sort of done a bit and thought, no, I'll stick to what I do, which is fine. You know, there's no right or wrong way to work in terms of your direction. But I think you're right. There's plenty of opportunity there for the taking. So definitely worth looking out for.
Especially when I watch Artisan Electrics, I'm like, I want to really do it now. I can see him always doing it. I'm like, this is pretty cool, especially on a hot day like this. I don't want to be in a house with tenants or inspection and testing. I just want to go out there and, you know, be out and get off a cup of tea without having to worry about the tenants and whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Caitlin?
So I feel like obviously up in Scotland there's not many obviously girls and that, so I feel like I've kind of got a lot to prove. So obviously my Instagram that you mailed me on is kind of the starting point of like my business and like what I've called it and that. So I've called it after my dog because it's like just something different. But I kind of want to do like a bit of everything, like gas, heating, just like absolutely everything. And my work's just also put people through their car charging qualification, so I'm getting to do that soon as well. But my company's great. Like, they give me every opportunity that I could like want, if you know what I mean. So, but eventually I'll obviously start on my own.
What attracts you to working for yourself? I'll probably ask this to you as well, Tianna. You've both mentioned that you know you've got a goal of working for yourself at some point.
Just really because, like, as I say, like up here there's not like girl companies anywhere, and like I done some work down in England, with one of the guys that I work with, and I went to a few girls' houses, and they're like, I'm so glad that a girl's appeared, because she felt like on edge like the full time, because she thought it was just got to be a guy. So I'm like, well, if I can start doing like a bit of everything of it, and then start like more girls like working for me, obviously still have guys in that as well, so that I'm not just going to have like an all girl company. But I feel like up here there's like none of that at all, so it'd be good to kind of start something like that.
Yeah, big. I suppose it just needs one person to start that effect, and hopefully it'll have a knock-on effect, won't it? Let's talk about sort of hands-on experience. Again, this is I'll get mixed answers for depending on where you're learning. But how hands-on experience has your college learning been compared to your apprentice learning? Let's start with you, Michael.
So, well, before I started apprenticeship, I went and did a level 2 diploma before. So when I was 17, I did that. So ever since I started my apprenticeship, I've always been more hands-on. And when I started the college course, I made sure for Christmas I asked for a tool set. So I got CK Magma sets, which I started out with. And yeah, so most of mine's always been hands-on. So I do like consumer unit changes, inspections. Yeah. I've done car chargers. I've done all sorts. Work from 3 days.
Is it quite a contrast to what you're learning in college though?
Well, with college, we only just started doing practical at the beginning of like last year, because we had so many tutors. One tutor wanted to get through all the theory work before we did any practical. Right. So we did. Most of us have done, well, all of the theory work's done, but there's still practicals. I think I've got.
Was it quite a sort of shock to the system going from quite theory-based learning in college to then going out with your employer?
Not really, no. I think it's just a gradual thing. I always wanted to be hands-on, so
that's good then. That's
from that.
It's nice to hear that you found that easy transition. I don't always hear that kind of good answer really. What about I'm going to ask you, Tianna. It looks like Lewis is getting on a train right now. So yeah, how sort of different was your learning compared to what you were getting out on the tools with your employer?
Well, I started electrics without an apprenticeship. Like I literally did my level 2 and 3, and then towards the end of my level 3, they said, "Oh, you can have an apprenticeship." It was like my company did. I was like, "Okay, fine." So for me, it was a shock to my system, and I started doing inspection and testing. And compared to what it was like in college, how it was on site, it blew my mind. And I remember having to read through my books again, because in college they kind of just want you to get through it, kind of thing. And you think, oh, I don't need to go back to it one day. And when I went back to it, it literally blew my mind. Like I felt like I was relearning everything again. Yeah. Like just a little stuff, as in, for example, lighting, intermediate lighting. I was like, I'd never thought I needed to use it until I started working in social housing. I was like, actually, you're gonna have to learn that, get back on your board and start doing it again. So for me, it was a big transition, and I kind of struggled with it a little bit when I first started my apprenticeship, because they kind of expected me to know it because I was doing my level 3. Yeah. But I didn't. So it was like, what was you doing in college all that time, kind of thing?
Was there quite a lot of pressure? So if you've gone into that company qualified, and then they're asking you to, I don't know, chase out walls or pull cabling through joists and things like that, and the methods that you might have been taught on a board in college to then doing it physically, different. Yeah. Was that quite a lot of pressure?
Was on, honestly, yeah. It was kind of like I remember one time I got pulled in the office. Says, "What have you done?" I says, "I ain't done anything." And I was like, "Oh no!" They literally, "Oh no!" And they put me on voids, to get like the practice says do smoke alarms, rewires, and I was like, "Oh, this is not that bad." But it's kind of like I had to relearn everything from level 2 to level 3 to now being a proper apprentice. So in that sense, my company was quite lenient, but in the other hand, it was like, what have you done? Like, why have you not done anything? Like, you know, you need to learn it kind of thing again. So they gave me like a week to learn everything again. So I was literally back in my books by what, third probably day in my apprentice.
But you managed it though.
Yeah. And I got my own van.
Fair
I
play,
got on my
fair play.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your van looks pretty clean, by the way, as well.
Oh.
Most people's vans that I speak to on here, there's like McDonald's packets and rubbish everywhere. So
I try honestly. I threw it all on the floor in the corner so you can't see it.
I've done that in here. This is my little spare room. There's usually like mountains of rubbish. I just hold it on the floor right now. So
I don't blame you.
yeah. Anyway, Lewis, you're on a train now by the looks of it. So let's talk about your sort of. Okay, we'll try our best anyway. So what's your sort of your learning experience in terms of the physical aspect, your hands-on from college to what you're doing now?
Hands-on, fine. So I've always been very hands-on at school. So going into this trade wasn't too bad. It's when I was trying to learn the theory of everything. So what I'm struggling with now is going back and doing my AM2. I don't really do a lot of testing on install. So when it comes to the testing, I'm like, oh, that's what that old man was talking about in college. Like, so I'm kind of having to relearn what I already learned at college.
So you're more of a sort of a physical learner than a book learner, if that makes sense. So quite similar to Tianna in a way that you're having to sort of revisit. And you know what? I don't think that ever ends. I know people that have been in the industry for so many years, and then they might get pulled back into a certain kind of job or a situation where they're like, oh, I haven't done this since college, and they're back there on the books. So let's talk about your employers. So one thing is getting qualified, doing your learning through college or whichever way you've done that. And it's another thing entirely actually gaining an apprenticeship and having that employer there to take you on. So how difficult has it been for you? Let's go over to you, Caitlin.
Oh, I found it really hard to actually obviously get one. So like when I first started my apprenticeship, it was kind of like a family member that took me on. And I think the only reason that he done that was because he felt bad because I couldn't really get anything. So what I did with them was it was like garden lights I used to do. So all I did for like my first year was armour cable, including out his garage, basically. Yeah. Didn't really learn anything else. I learned more at college than I did with my first company. And then up in Scotland, we have a thing called Select. I don't know if he's...
Yeah.
So I went on that and just emailed so many companies to try and get out of it because I was like, I'm not going to get anywhere with the company that I'm with now. And then that's how I found obviously the company that I'm with just now, and they're great.
Yeah.
They're like far better.
Do you think you'll stay on with them even though once all your learning's finished, you'll just stay on as an employee?
I will for like a wee bit, and then obviously as I said, I want to obviously go out on my own and start my own business. But all I do right now is inspection testing. So I'm out every day just doing like so many EICRs and then like remedial work. But at college up in Scotland, you don't learn inspection testing until your third year. So, and I'm not in third year yet.
Okay, so by the time you come to do it in college, you're already a pro at it.
Yeah, because I've been doing it for like a year now.
Yeah.
Like I do about 8-9 EICRs a day.
Okay.
So that's quite a lot.
So when you go into your college to next year to do that, are you? I know for different subjects, if you've got actual evidence of experience in a certain field, you can present that to your tutor and they can almost assess that early. Would that be the same for you?
I honestly couldn't tell you if that's really like a thing up here, to be fair.
I don't know. This is what I'm asking. I've heard about it in different subjects.
About it.
Yeah.
It's probably a question for my training officer, I suppose, because obviously because I do it so often, it's like second nature, like how to like fill out the search, how to actually do it. So it's probably like everything else. It's a bit dodgy with me because obviously I don't do that all the time. So like rewires or like do whatever, but I do quite a lot of homework as well. So I'm quite like confident in everything, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth asking the question if you just go to your tutors and just say, look, here's evidence of me doing this for nearly a year or however long you've been doing it. Will this progress me onto a different module, or
Because it's totally different. Like our college learning is totally different. I feel like down in England, like we don't have like an AM2 or like inlet. I don't even know what ours is called, but I know it's not that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I suppose it does differ, doesn't it? Let's go over to Michael. How did you get onto your apprenticeship? Was that difficult?
It was very difficult because I live in a rural place in North Yorkshire, so the closest big town is Middlesbrough, which is about 40 miles away. And then
40 miles, did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The only other place is Scarborough, which is about 25, 30. So.
Yeah, I've been on holiday there.
No, I live in Whitby, so just up from Scarborough.
Yeah, okay.
So there's not many employers around here, and if there are, they already have like apprentices and stuff. So when I first started, I had to do 3 months work experience for free. So I just offered it out there just because I was looking for ages and months and couldn't get anything. So, and before then, we didn't even have a hotel in our town either. So
really?
Our closest place, we used to have to wait 40, 50 minutes to get deliveries every day just for your jobs.
Yeah. So how did you find the place you're with now then?
Well, it was my first employer. So I did 3 months work experience, and then he was told if I was you, I'd take him on because he's a keen lad. And so I took that on, and I was with them for 2 years. And then just after COVID, like the first lockdown, then it started struggling with that company. So I changed. And because I used to work away, I used to do bits away. So we used to work down in Surrey and stuff like that. And I was on £6.45, I think, whilst I was working away, and no meals. Like only meal I had was evening meal. So breakfast and dinner I had to pay for out of my own pocket. So it
tins of spaghetti and smart price objects.
Yes, it worked out working away down for like a week at an end, working over weekends and stuff. It weren't worth it. So
yeah. So
I saw a company that was looking for either someone with level 3 or an apprenticeship or something, and took that. And not looking back, £10 an hour now, I think.
Yeah.
Rad.
That's good though. I mean, even like you say, you're in a rural area where there's not many people employing, and you've still managed it. You've still got onto that ladder of working your way up in the industry. So fair play to you, and I hope that is of some inspiration to people watching who might be in a situation like yourself. They might be living out in the sticks in a rural area, and they're thinking, I'm never going to be able to get an employer, but you've done it. So
yeah, it's like one of my mates. He lives literally in the middle of nowhere. He lives in a little village, and he managed as well. But both of us did like work experience. So
yeah,
and I think most people around here either just try and get in it because they're told to, or they're not that bothered really, and they just couldn't care.
Yeah, and it goes back to that whole attitude thing that I mentioned earlier. If you're showing a willingness to do it, then you're going to end up doing it at some point. So someone's going to recognise that and take you on.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Tianna? How did you get involved with your employer?
Well, my auntie worked for the company, so I knew that because she housed with them as well as worked for them. So one day my mom gave me the application, sent to my stepdad, and then I just thought, because I had other job offers as well, like I would regret some of them. I regret anyway, but I went for this company because I thought, okay, secure. And even during lockdown, even though I was off for a year on and off, during this first lockdown, they still carried on, like trying to give me stuff to do at home and all this. So for me, I got with my employer probably 2019, was it? And they was willing to take me on. I was happy, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it wasn't the fact that it was hard. It was more of a case of I had to compete against so many different lads, and that was the hardest part for me to get my employment. Was every single employer I went to, especially like towards the end, I noticed that I was competing with more and more people. There's a lot to do. Like I remember getting to the point, I was like, I don't know if I want to carry on this because I'm struggling to get an employer because no one wants to take me on. And then at one point, as soon as I accepted my employer that I'm working with now, it was offer, so many came back to me. I was like, it's a bit too late. I signed the contract.
Yeah,
So
it's
for
all the
me,
way,
it wasn't
isn't
that
it?
hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't as hard. It's more of a case of trying to get pitted against other candidates. That was the hardest part for me. Find the jobs were hard because I live in West Midlands, so there's so many different, places, and I drive, so that was a bonus.
Yeah. This is one of the good things, I suppose, about. I mean, us at Scolmore, we're Tamworth based. So are you Birmingham based?
Birmingham based, yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite, with it being central, you've got everywhere sort of at your reach,
so
which is handy.
It wasn't that hard, really.
Caitlin, you've mentioned that you do a lot of EICRs. Is that I want to sort of dispel the rumor that an employee is going to make the apprentice do all the rubbish work. Not to say that they probably are having to do some of it, but how's it been for you?
I don't get any rubbish work at all. Like with my old company, like there was a job that we had to dig two manholes, and my tradesman, another apprentice, sat in the van and watched me do it myself because it was snowing. So they made me go out and do it, and I mean, like the run that you had to do it from was a fair amount. So also when you've got the wheelbarrow with like the pea gravel in it, to obviously to stop like the water in that was, and then so they were just sitting watching you, and then obviously I always get me to tidy out the van. But with this company, I don't do any of that. Like I totally get to like do my own thing, like obviously, and then do obviously jobs, and I get sent out with people. Like when we get like new people come to work for us, I get sent my frame to kind of show them how things are done, basically, rather than. And I suppose like in a way, the people that come to work for us don't really like it because they're like, well, I'm qualified, you're an apprentice. But as my company sees it, I've been doing it a lot longer than them. So even though I'm an apprentice, I still get treated as if I'm qualified, if you know what I mean, and like kind of run like my own like workload, which is good.
That
is good. Has it been the same for you, Michael?
Yeah, well, I just work with, there's 4 of us all together. There's the two bosses, and they go out together, and me and another lad, and we just crack on. So if one does one rubbish job one day, well, someone else will do it next day. So
yeah, I think that's only fair. I mean,
take it in turns.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been on building sites with different trades, and you get the rough end, you get the carry this, carry that, dig that, do all this sort of stuff. But I suppose it's character building, as they say, for some of the jobs. So
yeah, well, I say even our bosses get into all the data work and stuff.
Yeah, that's good though. I do believe in leading by example, no matter how high up you sort of get to what position you get to. So I think that's good. What about you, Tianna? What sort of
I'm
tasks?
similar to Caitlin. Like I literally do EICRs, empty properties, and that's about it. And to be honest, I'm not exactly like Caitlin. They let me run the show, really, innit? Does Tianna want to do that much work today? No, I'm joking. But they literally just let me be, like, do what I want, really. As long as I do at least 3 properties a day, EICRs, and they're fine with it. But I also do a bit of like, day to day, as in going to properties, change a light bulb, come back out, and just little stuff like that. There's not, because I do social housing, there's not a lot of work to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, because I came back after a year, they kind of had to put me on empty properties to get myself back into the swing of things. So I literally do EICRs and remedial, realistically. Like there's nothing massive like with my job. So yeah.
What about tools? I mean, let's stay with you, Tianna, whilst you're here. I know different companies will sort of do things different. They might buy their apprentice a full set of tools. They might give them a bit of a contribution. They might give them old tools or just lend them so that when it comes time for them to move on, they've got to hand the tools back. How's that been for you?
I've had to pay for every single one of them. Like literally
Really?
Any tool, yeah. Because in my contract, they was like, okay, you're on a better salary because you pay for your own tools. So they kind of negotiate with the salary and whatever. And they said to me, 1 tool a month, power tools and that they gave us anyway, like the power tools, like drills, SDS drills, that was fine. But my hand tools, I paid for them myself. I get a meter anyway, like a test meter. So it wasn't really a lot. It's just really a good set of screwdrivers, pair of crappers, and that was really it. There's not a lot to do with my work because I do social housing and we contract out some rewires and very rarely we do rewires and that.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just literally getting some standard hand tools and make sure they last, really.
Yeah. What about you, Michael?
Well, with my first employer, so we had to, any hand tools and combi and impact, we had to pay for ourselves, because it was seen as your job role is this, you need this to do your job role, so you really require it. Whereas employer will now they pay for hand tools. If you break a screwdriver, they'll replace it, or you blow your side cutters up or something, they'll replace them all for free. So
what would be the case if you were to leave that company and go move elsewhere? Would you be allowed to take those tools with you, or is it belong to the company?
Like hand tools, they wouldn't let us take, like, I wouldn't say they'd let us take all like the like circular saws and stuff like that. They wouldn't let us take that. But like I say, the tools I use now are mine anyway, so I have my own impact and combi and hand tools and tester and all that lot. So
yeah,
if I did go, I'd have all my own stuff anyway. So I've just always been like that. Like I say, when I started my college course, I started with like a £200 set, which I don't have anymore because I've just upgraded it over time. But
they become like toys, I think, don't they? Just big kid toys.
I wouldn't want to imagine how much I've spent on tools.
Yeah.
I've owned about 7 Vito bags, so it says it all, really.
Yeah. Whenever I go into any of the tool shops and you see it coming out, I'm like, let's go over to you, Caitlin. How about you on the tool side of things?
I get gifted all mine. I don't pay for a thing. Anything I need, I just ask for it.
You what, sorry?
Anything I need, I just ask for it and they just get me it.
Yeah.
And if my old company, they did the exact same, and then when I left, I got all the tools like they'd got me.
It sounds like you've got it sussed really up there, Caitlin.
I mean, honestly, Matt, like, the company that I'm with now would honestly, like, they'll do anything for you.
Yeah.
It's like they just got me at the Waltz there. That's mine.
Name dropping. I'm gonna have to beep that out.
And I've got one van as well. Somebody reached out to me on Instagram for Merck, and they've gifted my company a electric van for Merck. Basically, so it's electric and it's basically mine, and they want to come out and obviously video me in like a day-to-day life driving about in this electric van that they gave us. So yeah, I've kind of got it good up here.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah. Considering you said that no one wants female Sparkies up in Scotland, you seem to be doing pretty well.
Well, to be fair, I think it's really down to the employer and how they put you across to people. And obviously social media is like a really big thing as well. So it's like since I've been like, so I put on like, there's podcasts on like Instagram, so I've been on like Apprentice 1-to-1, I've been on like the Monday Club, I've been on with like Kimmy the Sparky, Charlotte Electric, she's for London, Amy the Sparky. Like so many people like reach out to me like wanting to like come on, but I think it's just because they know there's not many like girls, or like obviously up in Scotland there's like hardly any. Like I'm only one in my college class that's a girl, and I think there's one maybe 2 years above me, but there's no more that's came up.
Yeah.
Since me.
No, it does sound like you're doing well though. Yeah. Any things that you feel that you yourselves have sort of brought to the company yourself, or even your lecturers maybe? So are there things that you've learned on site that you may feel are better than what you've learned in class, better techniques, or even just being a bit more tech savvy that you bring to your employers? They might not know of a way to do a certain job, and because you might be a bit more interested in social media and things like that, where you'll be able to pick things up. Are there things that you've been able to bring to the table? We'll start with you, Tianna.
It's going to be daft. You know the Wagos, you have a little slot, there's a little hole in the Wagos, to test. That was one of them. Everyone in my company was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like everyone started telling everyone, you can test at the back of the Wagos instead of taking the cables out. I was like, yeah. And also, for example, because I was the first Sparky, a female electrician apprentice on voids, then I'll put in like most of the lads through their inspection testing. Because I was like, oh, we want to go through it. Like, can we get like a funding to go through it? And now they're like, yeah, what else do you need like now? Because at first I was like, no. And I was like, but I enjoy what I do. I like being on empty properties and learning. And now they said they're going to put me through my inspection and test, because it was never an option before because of funding and whatever. And now they says, "Oh, you know what, maybe we can put her through it." Now they're putting all the lads through it that haven't got it. So in that sense, it's a bit of a, they're happy.
That's what you find though, isn't it? If you know, without sounding ageist, younger people do tend to sort of have that sort of, that they are aware of these new technologies and new courses or whatever it is, and bringing that to the attention of your employers is a good thing, and not only benefit you, it might benefit your people around you, even your boss themselves. You might find it's going to help you also. Let's go over to Caitlin.
I don't know, really, like, apart from armour, nobody in my company will touch really armour. That's left to me, because obviously I did it for so long. I was like, no, I'd rather just leave it to you. But we all kind of just help each other, really, and like show each other. If somebody's got something, they'll just tell you, and then you just obviously, if you think that you can do a better way, then, like, as I say, like, my company's good. Like, they don't really shut you down. Like, if you want to do something, they'll let you. They don't. So it's like, it's different, if you know what I mean, because you have that opportunity and they give you it.
Yeah, I can tell you've had a Domino's recently as well, by the way.
Yeah, same, yeah.
Do you know, I don't even know when this is for. It was just on the table. My mum that's away on holiday, so I've dog sitting in the house. So I have no idea when this one was playing it.
What about you, Michael?
Well, since I started my new company, at my new firm, I've never installed a car charger, but I've got experience because with my old firm, I've installed a couple of them. So, and we're planning on installing some now. But yeah, we don't use Wagos, unfortunately. We used to. Old firm I used to work for, it's all we used to use, but a new firm is very old-fashioned. Don't like Wagos. Stick with 15 amp blocks and stuff.
They call me the Wago Queen. I have loads in my pockets and that.
Well, something most people don't know is the push fit ones are actually reusable as well.
Yeah, I know. I keep them. I do.
I would also like to mention at this point, we've got Unicrimp, which is one of our companies under the Scolmore group. They have got something similar, one of these connection blocks, so it might be worth checking that one out. I know a lot of people are moving over to them, but I don't want to go shoving products down people's throats. I just thought I'd mention that while you were talking about that. So yeah, are there any? I mean, you said you worked with your dad. So, are there any things that you sort of taught him in a way? New tricks or technologies?
Yeah, technology. Literally technology. He's very old-fashioned. Like, he'll chase out a bat box with a bolster and a hammer. So he, instead of using like a SDS, he'll sit there with a hammer and chisel it out by hand.
Yeah, I've done that.
He made me do that.
Yeah.
His whole thing was learn it this way. So then when you do it the easy way, you appreciate it.
Yeah, that's not a bad learning technique.
I couldn't chase out too many sockets like that.
No.
But yeah, no, just technology and tools really. He's in his mid-50s, so he's very stuck in his ways, if you like. So power tools, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm literally, this has been a nightmare. I was meant to get to Liverpool earlier, but
don't worry about it. It's fine, honestly. Before we finish, I'll just last question I want to sort of ask you all. We'll go around the table again. Just what your advice would be to anyone who's either thinking about setting out an apprenticeship or currently in their apprenticeship. Just general advice that you found has helped you sort of get through it all. We'll start with you, Tianna.
My best advice is have confidence and be keen to learn and take everything in. Like, some people are just saying it to say it, but I actually mean it. Literally be like a sponge, absorb everything you can get, you know what I mean, out of your apprenticeship. Because if I knew what I knew then, now I probably would have been flying past it with flying colours, but I didn't take everything in when I first started. It kind of backfired a little bit, but obviously now I'm on my own. It's kind of like, I wish I knew what they said to me back then now, because like, instead of me calling them, I would have actually paid attention to it. Now I call them, say, oh, what did you say about 2 years ago? What did you say again? But just be enthusiastic and take everything in as much as you can. And remember, like, there's an end goal, no matter how hard it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael?
Make mistakes. It's not wrong to. I learned from one of my biggest mistakes. I've learned not what to do now. Did a heating system. First one I ever did was an oil-filled boiler, and everything was wired properly except one thing. The boiler comes pre-made with a link between the switch live and permanent live, and I left that in, and for 2 weeks it was just constantly going up to heat, dropping out, going up to heat, and wasted about £800 of oil. But luckily it all got wiped under, and I've learnt now if I ever wire a boiler up, first thing I do is check there's a link in case it happens again.
Yeah. Did you own up to it?
I did, yeah. I didn't mind, let's say. And the plumbers leaked a load of oil anyway when they were putting the boiler in, so half of it weren't my fault. So
Blame the plumbers.
yeah, I always blame the plumbers.
I think I think you're right there. Owning up to your mistakes is a big one.
I've when I first started, I always take pictures of my work, and one downlight I took a picture of, and I realised because the live earth neutral earth live, this was about 3 years ago now, and I put it in, and I put live earth neutral, but we hadn't powered that place up yet, and so straight away I was onto the phone to my old boss and was like, "Don't power up the lighting circuit." And straight away got around there and sorted it out.
Yeah. I see people, who have been in the industry 30, 40 years plus, and they're still making mistakes. It still happens. Everyone does it, It's nothing to be ashamed of. You just have to learn from it, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. That's why I always do now. So
yeah. What about you, Caitlin? What would be your outgoing advice?
Confidence. I think confidence has helped me a long way. Especially with obviously not having a good start with try to get companies. And if you have the right attitude, then you've got on fine no matter if you're male or female. So because once obviously we go back, because obviously we're on our up in Scotland, our summer holidays have started. We're maybe a month in. So once obviously all the schools go back, my training officers take me into schools to talk to obviously high school to try and obviously get people to come in, and obviously more aiming it towards girls. So just confidence really, and just stand your ground. Even though you're an apprentice, you're not any worse off than obviously somebody that's fully qualified. That you can just be as good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it looks like we've lost Louis on this chat, which is a shame. It'd be nice to get more feedback from him, and it's been a pleasure to have all of you on the show. Even Louis, if you're watching this and we lost out on you, it's been a pleasure to have you all on the show. So I want to thank all of you for coming on. It'd be great to have you all back, maybe individually as one or two of you together sometime. So hopefully people out there has found this useful. And if you have found it useful and you want to see more from us here at SGTV, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button. There's plenty of videos. And like I said earlier, we've also got a mini series coming out for the job routes to electricians. So that's one to keep your eye out. So it'll give you a bit of an inkling into the various different routes, such as commercial, domestic, industrial, rail, agricultural, everything. So keep your eye out for that one. So anyway, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.